Medley, and you're watching Disneyland Secrets and History on Medley Mouse. Welcome! Today, I want to talk about the automobile utopia, or Autopia. The Autopia we know today is worlds different from the Autopias of the past. Each have their own unique looks and functions, although they all have similar attributes. They were even all located in the same corner of Disneyland. I've compiled the history, and I am so excited to share it all in one place. On July 17, 1955, Disneyland's opening day, a multi-lane highway was still a concept of the future. President Eisenhower had not yet signed the interstate highway legislation. This meant there were no huge highways or interstates in the U.S. In 1955, the very first Autopia opened, Autopia Freeway. It was one of the original 20 rides from Disneyland's opening day. Back then, the cars were not on a track. Drivers hit the sides, the curbs, other cars, and even cast members. The cars took quite a beating. Multiple versions of the cars were released, each a little better than the one before. Before the park opened, the cars were tested without the bumpers on and were almost completely destroyed by the test drivers. Unlike today, the original tracks did not have guardrails and were 2 car lengths wide. This way, cars could pass each other or completely turn around. At the loading and unloading area, Autopia drivers could either pull to the side and exit, or bypass the parked cars and continue on the open road once again. The original Autopia Freeway was presented by Richfield Oil from 1955 until 1970. July 23, 1956 brought Junior Autopia to Disneyland. It had only been a year since the park's opening. This attraction took over the location of the old Mickey Mouse Club Circus, which was to the right of Storybook Land and on the far side of Snow Mountain. To me, it's crazy to think about the location of these long-gone attractions. It's almost difficult to describe their locations now because the area is completely different today than it was back then. Anyway, it's just something that really fascinates me. Junior Autopia was designed, like its predecessor, by Bob Gurr. Said Bob Gurr, since Autopia was so popular and the north area of Disneyland was so barren after the Mickey Mouse Club Circus was removed, Walt added the second Autopia track in that location. Since the original Autopia cars were a bit big for real tiny children, the Junior cars had booster blocks on the gas pedals so they could drive. The cars used on both tracks were otherwise identical. End quote. The attraction had a shorter track than the original Autopia and was only 1 car length wide. On September 15, 1958, Junior Autopia closed to make room for the Matterhorn and the monorail. Now, let's go back to 1957, when Midget Autopia made its debut. Now, let's make a side note. It's important to understand that Disneyland used the word midget as an adjective for a ride with small cars, not to refer to people of short stature. Now that we've made that clear, onward! Midget Autopia was the third and smallest Autopia ever created, and was located by Storybook Land Canal and across from the motorboat cruise. These were tiny cars, each with 2 steering wheels. The attraction was designed for children. In the cars, the driver had no control. These were more like dark ride vehicles than other Autopia vehicles. Unlike the other Autopias, this one wasn't designed by Bob Gurr. Midget Autopia was situated on a winding country road with a yellow barn and everything. In April 1966, Midget Autopia closed to make room for It's a Small World. Walt donated the attraction to Marceline, Missouri. It operated in the Walt Disney Municipal Park for 11 years until parts were no longer available to service the cars. Until early 2017, our modern Autopia featured a bronzed Midget Autopia car in the car park scene. In 1959, Fantasyland Autopia opened. Some historians describe it as a revamped Junior Autopia located by the Matterhorn. The attraction was built to take some of the pressure off of the Tomorrowland Autopia, which always had a long line. At this time, there were 3 Autopias, Tomorrowland and Fantasyland, and the previously mentioned Midget Autopia. The Tomorrowland and Fantasyland Autopias were nearly identical. They did feature different scenery, though. Each had their own 2 tracks, but came together along the route to make a 4-lane superhighway. From March to November of 1991, Fantasyland Autopia became Rescue Rangers Raceway due to Disneyland's Afternoon Avenue makeover in Fantasyland. From November 1991 until 1999, the attraction ran as the original Fantasyland Autopia. Now, let's take a step back. I want to try and untangle the story now. Up until this point, Disneyland featured 3 separate Autopia attractions. Until 1966, Disneyland featured Midget Autopia, Tomorrowland Autopia, and Fantasyland Autopia. Tomorrowland Autopia was the revamped, redesigned, but mostly similar Autopia Freeway from 1955. The original Autopia had to be changed multiple times. The cars were constantly in need of repair or redesign. In the beginning, Bob Gurr had just graduated from an automotive design school. He designed the bodies of the Autopia cars, which were inspired by the Porsche 550 Spider and a custom Ferrari. They had fiberglass bodies. As I said, the cars were constantly failing, and Bob Gurr worked on the repairs alone with his own tool set. The story goes that one day, Walt came by, took a look at the whole scene, and asked, "What do you need?" Bob Gurr explained the need for mechanics and a place to work on the cars since there weren't any facilities. In less than an hour, a tractor came dragging in an old building, and mechanics came in the next morning. From then on, Bob had a place to repair the cars and a crew. The very first fleet of Autopia cars were named Mark I. The cars had a speed of 11 miles per hour and actually caused accidents. Bob Gurr told E-Ticket magazine, "Cars were constantly spinning out, jumping the curbs, or blocking roadways," end quote. In the early days of the original Autopia, there were 40 vehicles. One was a special car painted in metallic maroon with a red and off-white leatherette interior. This one became Walt's show car. Although, on opening day, there were only 37, or 36 depending on who you ask, normal vehicles. An additional 2 or 3 were painted black and white, had sheriff's insignia on their hoods with flashing red lights, sirens, and dual controls. These Tomorrowland police cars were designed to travel 25 miles per hour and were to act as escorts along the highway. The idea was to have them pass slow drivers and pull over young lawbreakers. In reality, they mostly gave younger, smaller children rides around the track. Soon enough, the cars were painted to the normal color and added to the attraction. Within the first few years, Autopia went through several different fleets as the cars were severely abused. Each fleet looked mostly the same. By 1958, only 3 years after opening, they'd gone through fleets Mark I, II, III, and IV. In 1959, the Monorail, Submarine Voyage, and Matterhorn made their debut. The original Autopia also debuted a new fleet with a brand new look. These were called the Mark V's. Next came the Mark VI in 1964. In 1965, 10 years after opening day, the center guardrail was first installed. 1967 brought another new design, the Mark VIIs, which cost $5,000 a car and looked similar to the new Corvette Stingray. These cars remained in service through 1999 until the Mark VIIIs were released onto the tracks. Backing up just a tad, it's important to talk about the 1956 track change that happened to the original Autopia freeway sponsored by Richfield. In late 1956, the attraction was reconfigured as a double ride with an A and a B track. This was done to increase the attraction's capacity. There were now 2 loading areas, an additional 40 vehicles, and shorter wait times. By early 1957, Tomorrowland went through big changes to accommodate some great new attractions. This meant that our original Tomorrowland Autopia had to be slightly rerouted. Okay, now that we've got the 2 intertwining stories caught up, we can move forward. In 1999, both the Tomorrowland and the Fantasyland Autopias closed. The 2 tracks were destroyed and replaced with a new, much larger Autopia sponsored by Chevron. The new track was basically a combination of the Fantasyland and Tomorrowland Autopia courses. This new, revamped Autopia opened on June 29, 2000. The colorful Chevrolet Corvette Stingray-style cars were replaced with 3 different kinds of cars, Dusty, Sparky, and Susie. The lovely queue we all remember and love featured animated dioramas featuring the Chevron cars. Interesting fact I didn't know before, this new Autopia's ride background music was taken directly from the Old People Mover attraction, which had closed 5 years prior. Just like in years past, a cast member hands out blank driver's licenses, only this time you can add your photo. Chevron's sponsorship ended in the summer of 2012. The Chevron cars still appeared in the attraction's pre-show, although all references to Chevron were removed. On January 11, 2016, Autopia closed for a major overhaul and update. The attraction received a new building, they painted the walkway blue, there's a new sign, vehicle paint schemes, minor vehicle modifications, and a new sponsor. The Autopia cars have somewhat new body styles, but are still gas-powered engines. On April 29, 2016, the attraction reopened with Honda as its new sponsor. In early 2017, Honda revealed Osmo in the attraction. New figures of Osmo and his robot friend Bird were added to the attraction. The ride is so darling right now and features the hilarious adventures of Osmo and Bird on a road trip. I thoroughly enjoy the update, and I love seeing each little scene in that attraction. It's bittersweet to say goodbye to the car park, which featured that bronze midget Autopia car and that mini Mr. Toad ride vehicle. The old scenery will always have a special place in my heart, but this new storyline is fantastic. Oh, and the Autopia cars have a maximum speed of 7 miles per hour, so there's that. I love that this ride has entertained guests for over 60 years. Although the attraction has changed so many times, the same idea has remained. I remember being a child and getting to drive an Autopia car was so magical and so fun. In that aspect, Autopia has a place in Tomorrowland. Today, a multi-lane highway isn't the future, it's the present and the past. Yet, for children everywhere, getting behind the wheel of a car is an exciting adventure of the future. Thank you so much for watching. Disneyland history has been something that I've been so passionate about since I was 10 years old. It's really hard to find a place where all of the Autopia's histories come together in one cohesive story. So this was my attempt to make that happen. Getting to share all of my research together in one place has been such a treat. To see future Disneyland history videos, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment if you'd like. I'd love to make new friends and discuss Disney history. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.